You ever see a stock just go vertical on your screen and wonder what on earth is going on? Is this some genius company about to change the world, or is it just market craziness? Well, today we're breaking down the two main toolkits every investor uses to figure that out: the story and the chart.
And let's just dive right in with a pretty wild example. On one Friday, a company called ImmunityBio, ticker IBRX, just exploded. I mean, look at that, a nearly 40% jump in a single day. And check this out, 182 million shares were traded. That's not just a little blip on the radar. That is a full-blown earthquake.
So you see this pop up on your app. What's your first reaction? Is this just a lucky pump that's going to crash back down to earth? Or did something massive just happen that changed this company's future forever? That's the big question, isn't it? Okay, so here's the deal. Investors basically have two different ways of looking at this. First, you've got the story, which is really called fundamental analysis. This is where you put on your detective hat and dig into the company itself. You're looking at its sales, its products, its whole vision. Then there's the chart, or technical analysis. This way kind of ignores the company's story completely and just reads the market's mood, using patterns in the price to guess what might happen next. All right, let's start with that first lens. We're going to use our fundamental analysis on ImmunityBio to see if we can figure out the story behind that insane price jump. We're going under the hood of the business. And wow, okay, right away we find something huge. ImmunityBio had just announced some early results showing a 700% increase in revenue year over year. Let me just say that again, 700%. That's not some guess about the future. That is explosive growth happening right now. So what does that 700% look like in real money? Well, it translates to about $113 million in revenue. For a biotech company at this stage, a number like that is an absolute game changer. This is the moment they go from being just a cool idea in a lab to a real commercial powerhouse that's just smashing expectations. Now, this is where it gets kind of nuts. Look at their gross margin, almost 100%. Think about that for a second. For every dollar of their drug they sell, pretty much the entire dollar is profit. It's like they've got a software company's business model, but for biotech. This thing is basically a cash printing machine. So what's the bottom line here? That 40% pop wasn't just random hype. The market was waking up to cold, hard facts. Their main drug wasn't just a promise, it was selling, and selling big time. The company's story had totally changed, and the stock price was just sprinting to catch up. And it wasn't just one thing. It was like an avalanche of good news. Sales were soaring, their clinical trials were ahead of schedule, they got new approvals overseas, plus their drug works better than the old one, and it's filling a huge shortage in the market. See, this is what fundamental analysis is all about, connecting all these dots to build the complete picture. Okay, time to switch gears completely. Let's pick up that second lens, the chart, and look at a different company, SoFi. And for this part, we're going to forget everything we just talked about. Earnings, products, the company's mission, none of that matters right now. The only thing that matters is the chart itself and the psychology it reveals. Now, to understand the SoFi chart, you gotta know this one key term: ascending support. Just think of it like a rising floor underneath the stock price. For a long time, anytime the price has drifted down to touch this imaginary line, buyers have jumped in and pushed it right back up. So you can imagine, if the price actually breaks through that floor, technical traders see that as a really big deal. And that's exactly where the battle is for SoFi right now. On one side, you have the bulls, the optimists. They're betting this is a false breakdown, a head fake to trick sellers before the stock rips higher. But on the other side, you've got the bears, the pessimists. They think this is the real deal, a clear sign of weakness that could send the stock sliding all the way down to about $25. So if you just look at the textbook technical signals, what do they say? Well, for the short term, things look a little bearish. You've got this trifecta of warning signs. It tried to break higher and failed. The trading volume was low, and volume is like the fuel for a move. So low volume means no one's really excited. And then it broke that key support floor. For a chart reader, that's a pretty powerful combo of red flags. So we've looked at two very different stocks through two completely different lenses. One was all about a powerful business story. The other was all about the raw psychology playing out on a chart. Now let's tie it all together and see how you can use this stuff. This table really sums it up perfectly. Fundamental analysis, the story, is for the long game. It's asking, is this a high-quality company I want to own for years? Technical analysis, the chart,
is all about timing. It's asking, is right now a good time to buy or sell? And here's the secret. They're not opposites. The best investors often use both. They use the story to figure out what to buy, and then they use the chart to figure out when to buy. So why does any of this matter to you? Because when you understand both of these languages, you become a much smarter investor. You can look at the headlines and see why a stock like ImmunityBio is moving on its business, while a stock like SoFi is trapped in a technical tug of war. It helps you read between the lines and just make better, more confident decisions. So I'll leave you with this question. When you look at a stock, what do you see first? Do you see the business with its story and its future, or do you see the chart with its patterns of hope and fear? The real secret is knowing they're just two sides of the same coin. Figuring out which lens you naturally use is a great first step, but learning to see with both, that's what gives you a real edge.